Happy New Year! Oh my gosh, can you believe it's 2023? It's kind of weird because we take, the last 2 weeks of the year, our team we're still working, but we work from home, get a little more downtime and spend time with family, that kind of thing. So it feels like it's been a lot longer than a month that we were talking market numbers and rates. And of course, in December, we were in discussions about what's going to happen in 2023, looking ahead, and now we're actually in 2023. So what we're going to do, this is going to be a lot of good information-packed time. We're going to look very quickly at how December closed out in 2022 as compared to 2021 and 2020. We're going to look at those comparisons just so you can see how, hey, Debbie just joined us. Thanks, Debbie. I'm glad you're watching. But we're going to look at how December closed out in Muskogee and Harris County, as well as Russell and Lee County. And then we are going to look at year-end information, comparing how the full year of 2022 closed out as compared to 2021 and 2020 to give you a baseline of some things. And there's some key elements of that information that are very interesting that I think you'll enjoy. But to get us started, we're going to go through market numbers, and after we go through these numbers, we've got Dustin Steele here, our resident local mortgage expert. We're going to talk interest rates, looking at kind of that, what happened in 2022, how did it end up, and what are we looking ahead at as far as rates for 2023. So we'll get to that after we go through the market numbers. And now we are going to get started with those market numbers. We are going to look first at how December closed out in Muskogee and Harris County. So closed sales for December was 199 closed sales. For 2021, it was 357 closed sales in December. Now, if you've been tracking these monthly updates, that is not a big surprise to you that there would be that big of a difference in closed sales, because when we were looking in October and November at very high number of pending sales in the previous 2 years as compared to 2022, we fully expected that there was going to be a pretty big difference for December and even potentially January on those closed sales based on the pendings. So the fact that we closed out at 199 in December versus 357 last year is not a big surprise to me, as we've been tracking this information for a while. And then in 2020, December for Muskogee and Harris County, there were 273 closed sales. So 199 is low. We definitely prefer to see 357. And 273 was a good strong number back in 2020, but 199 is a low number, still a function of very low inventory, but also a function of the shift in market that we experienced with interest rates and everything through 2022. Average days on market for December were 44. In 2021, average days on market were 35. Not a huge difference. A little bit more time on market, but that's been happening throughout all of 2022, or at least the last half of 2022. And then in 2020, average days on market for December was about 48. So we're a few more days on market than we were last year in December, and a few less than we were in 2020. So right around that middle mark. Average sales price, closed sales price for 2022 December was $236 for Muskogee and Harris County. In 2021, it was $233,000, and in 2020, it was $230,000. So the interesting thing about that to me is, again, if you track these monthly, you know that there have been some big differences in pricing month to month, year over year. But for the month of December, we have tracked very close price point. We haven't seen a big uptick in closed sale price point for the month of December. I don't really have a reason for that. There's nothing specific that I can tie that to, just one of those fun, interesting facts. List to sale price percentage, meaning what did it list for? What did it actually close out for? Those numbers for 2022 December, our list to sale price was 101%. And throughout most of this past year, it was under 100%. But in December, what that tells us is whatever the list price was, on average, everything closed out slightly above list price. So that's interesting. We haven't really seen that as much in 2022 as we did in 2021. December of 2021, it was 99%, and December of 2020, it was 97.61%. So before we get into year-end numbers for Muskogee and Harris County, we're going to jump ahead to December numbers for Russell and Lee County. Closed sales for December in Russell and Lee County was 122 closed sales. In 2021, it was 167. And in 2020, it was 144. The days on market for 2022 December were 52 days on market on average, a little high. That's the highest we've seen it on a month to month here lately. Maybe a lot of different factors involved with that, time of year, things like that. But we are seeing a little bit more time on market than normal. In 2021, December was 29 days on market, and in 2020, it was 33 days on market. Average sales price for December of 2022 in Russell and Lee County was $252,000 was the average sales price. In 2021, it was $236,000, and in 2020, it was $195,000. So we're seeing a big difference in the December closeout sale average price in Russell and Lee County, much bigger than the difference over the last 3 years in Muskogee and Harris County. Again, nothing particular that I'm tying that to, just an interesting fact to make note of. List to sale price percent for 2022 was December 2022 was 99.67, so almost 100% list to sale price. In 2021, it was 100%, and in 2020, it was 99.63. So let's go back to Muskogee and Harris County and look at our year-end information. Like, how did 2022 close out for the entire year as compared to 2021 and 2020? All right, closed sales for the entire year, Muskogee and Harris County is approximately 3,248 closed sales. In 2021, it was 3,839. So yes, we have seen a good chunk less for 2022. Again, no surprise. We've been tracking this information every month. And in 2020, the total closed sales were 3,311. So the interesting thing about that is we are at our 2-year low for closed sales in Muskogee and Harris County. Both 2020 and 2021 did yield a higher number of closed sale transactions. So, 2022, it's been a different year. Not a bad year by any stretch, but definitely a difference in the market. Days on market for 2022 in Muskogee and Harris County was an average of 29 days on market. In 2021, it was an average of 33 days on market. So we actually saw less days on market overall for the year in 2022 than we did in 2021. That was even a little bit of a surprise to me. And then in 2020, the average days on market were 62. Average sale price for 2022 in Muskogee and Harris County was $252,500. In 2021, it was $230,900. So we have seen a significant growth in value in what the average sales price is from 2021 to 2022. So while we've seen less transactions, we have continued to see home values go up for the year. So that's great news. That means even though we've seen a hike in interest rates and some different factors like that, we've continued to see home values grow. So that's a positive. Now, I don't think we're going to see that kind of difference in home values from 2022 comparing to 2023 ahead. I think our percentage of growth in value is going to be a lot different. I don't think we're going to be seeing drastic decreases in value, but we're projected, as we talked about last month, to see about a 1% increase in home values nationally for 2023. So again, I'm not expecting to see home prices go down. I think it's going to be a little bit more even keel. We're not going to see the same growth in value in 2023 that we did see in 2022. And then the average sale price in Muskogee and Harris County for 2020 was about $210,000. So over the last 3 years, we've had phenomenal growth in home value, and that's been really exciting for us. List to sale price percent for the overall year in Muskogee and Harris County, it was 99.08. For 2022, in 2021, it was 99.39, and in 2020, it was 97.87. So while it wasn't 100% the last 2 years, it was real close to it. So again, despite everything that's been going on, we weren't seeing huge negotiations happening in 2022 from drastic differences in list price to sale price. Things were holding pretty steady from that. Let's look real quick before we move to to Russell and Lee County year end. Currently, right now, approximately anyhow, in the MLS for Muskogee and Harris County, we have approximately 313 active listings and 249 pending listings. Now, this time last year, approximately, we had about 280 active listings and 450 pending sales. So what that tells me again is we've got slightly more inventory, but we're still very low inventory, and we've got significantly less pending sales, which means when we compare closed sales in January 2023 to 2022, we're likely going to see a big difference in those numbers, just like we did for this past December. So I think that's when you look at those pending numbers are telling us what the future closings are, typically within the next 60 days. And it's going to be a lot less than what it was this time last year, but that's okay. That doesn't mean anything bad. It's just information to know. Okay, let's jump ahead to year end for Russell and Lee County. Year-end closed sales for Russell and Lee County 2022 was about 1,706 closed sales. 2021, that was for 2022. 2021 was 1,845 closed sales, and 2020 was 1,636 closed sales. So, we're a little under what we were in Russell and Lee County last year, 2021, because we are in 2023 now. But we're a little ahead of where we were at the end of the year in 2020. Days on market, average days on market for Russell and Lee County in 2022 was about 28 days on market. In 2021, it was about 29 days on market, so not a big difference there. And then in 2020, it was 59 days on market. Average sales price for 2022 was $250,000. And something I want to note here is typically I've been in real estate for almost 19 years now. Over all the years up until this year, there has been a pretty big difference in average sales price between Muskogee and Harris County versus Russell and Lee County. And typically, Muskogee and Harris County carried a higher average sales price than Russell and Lee County. Well, guess what? No longer. Not for 2022. That's not what we're seeing. The average sales price in Muskogee and Harris County was $252,000. The average sales price in Russell and Lee County was $250,000. So for the first time in my career, I'm really seeing those counties on the opposite state lines more on par with value between the two. So that's very interesting and exciting as well. Average sales price for 2021 was $222,000, and for 2020 was about $200,000. List to sale price percent for 2023 was 99.86. In 2021, it was 99.98. And in 2020, it was 98.91. So over the last 3 years, we've held strong on negotiations, meaning sellers haven't had to give a lot on price to negotiate with a buyer and get to the closing table. All right, active listings in Russell and Lee County right now is approximately 161 active listings. Very low inventory. Pending sales, approximately 141. So not a huge difference. Like, we've got almost as many pending sales as we do active sales on that side of the river. Last year, this time of year, we had approximately 101 active listings with approximately 240 pending sales. So again, quite a few, about 100 more pending sales this time last year than we're seeing now, which is going to impact our closeout numbers as they compare to last year for this year. But once again, none of that is a big surprise. I would say my biggest excitement for 2022, my biggest takeaway from all of this information is that we continued, even with rate hikes and the market, really shifting and a lot of uncertainty, a lot of shift in our market for 2022. We continued to see home prices go up. There's a lot of negative banter through the year from people that I would hear about, how home prices are just going to plummet and everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket. Well, it didn't, and prices didn't. So not only did it not go to hell in a handbasket, but pricing continued to grow. Even though 2021 was an exceptional year in the real estate market and an exceptional seller's market, we continued with fewer sales in 2022 to see home prices go up. So, yes, that's a factor of inflation as well. So you can maybe argue how good you think that is. But I think as homeowners, as people who invest in real estate, knowing that your home value has gone up and not come down, there's a lot of comfort for that. And even going into 2023, knowing that the national projection is that home prices will continue to increase about 1%. Well, hey, that's a lot better than hearing that they're anticipating a decrease. Now, does that mean that some homes in certain segments of markets may feel a decrease? Yes, that could happen. But when you're looking overall at our markets, we are not anticipating any kind of negative impact on home values. So I think that's my most positive takeaway from 2022 looking ahead into 2023. So with that, that's all of our kind of year-end tying up 2022 and moving into 2023. That gives you all the numbers and stats for the year. And we are going to bring in Dustin. Whoop, whoop. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
He's going to go through and talk to us about what interest rates, how did they end up for 2022? Okay. What are we looking forward to in 2023? Give us all the dish.
Man, so I would say it was a volatile year. It was. I mean, from start to finish, there were some periods that were very consistent. I think there was a lot of knee jerk, and of course there was a lot of change too when you talk about just where rates began and where they ended and their high point. And, we saw rates as low, January, they were still 3% flat.
Yeah, I remember that.
Still 3. I could not believe that when I looked back at the numbers today. It was just hard to believe. We didn't really get into the 5s. We didn't leave the 4s and get into the 5s until about May. And then from about May to, I would say, August, it was pretty consistent. Low 5s. It didn't really go up and down. I know we were really panicking because we were thinking, oh my gosh, it's in the 5s. We haven't seen the 5s in forever. I cannot believe it's in the 5s. I really wish we could go back to May. May was really good when you look at it now. But September and October were probably our most volatile months of the year. We had everything in that month from high, like 4.7. I locked a loan, I basically closed a loan at 4.75 that month, a VA loan, and also closed a VA loan that month at 6.25.
Isn't that crazy?
all within a 30 to 60 day
That's
window.
crazy.
And these are, when you're talking about very similar credit profiles, there wasn't much different about each loan. So if the person that got the 4.75 would have called 2 weeks later, they would have gotten the same rate. They would have gotten 6.25. So really,
it was a crazy year.
It was up and down.
It was a good year,
It was up and down.
It came with its stress points.
It did. I mean, and then when we got, November, December, basically from about the end of October to now, we've really only consistently seen the sixes for about 90 days. I mean, 90 to 120 days. It has not been nearly as long as I think we feel like it has.
Yeah.
This has not been, I know when you think about it, you think, oh man, rates are so high. This has been going on for so long. Well, it's only been about 3 or 4 months. So in the grand scheme of things, it has not been that bad for that long. And we have started to see things improve. I mean, right now VA is around 5.75, which is a great rate. It really is.
I mean, it is. I get if you had your mindset in January of last year when they were still in the threes. Yeah, 5 doesn't sound as great, but it really is a good rate. And before you go to your next thought, I want to remind you guys as we're talking about that, the thing to remember is that while you might pay a higher interest rate now than you would have in January of last year, you also are not paying exorbitant amounts over list price. So this time last year, we were still seeing buyers paying $15,000, $20,000, $30,000+ over list price, appraisal gap fees, a lot of crazy stuff that we're not seeing now. Right. And the difference in that is if you pay over list price, if you pay an appraisal gap fee, that money is gone. You never, it's sucked into that sale, and it's always a part of what that home price is.
Right.
If you're paying 5, 6, 7% in interest right now, but you're getting the home for at list price or closer to list price and not paying these exorbitant amounts over list price, guess what? Interest rates go up and down. And if let's say you locked in at 7%, well, you can refinance when rates go down. You're not stuck at that rate for the eternity like you are at your purchase price. Once you've purchased a house for a specific price, that is your purchase price. There's no going back from it. Correct. But if you purchase a house and you have a rate of 6, 7%, and rates drop to 5, or maybe even one day, maybe we see them go under 5. We don't know. You can refinance, and you're not at that rate for eternity. So I just wanted to remind you guys, I know we've talked about that, but I want to drive that point home because it's very important not to freak out about a higher rate because you're paying a higher rate, but you're also now in this market paying a more reasonable price for the home.
Correct. That's a great point. And I do think there may be some refinance opportunities for people right now.
Yeah, I think for some are at 7.
I've done some loans this year at 7, and I know there are probably people that locked in the mid 7s. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all to hear somebody say that. I didn't do those, but I know they were out there. So if you're somebody that has an interest rate in the 7s, I mean, and and it doesn't matter the loan type. I mean, whether it's conventional, FHA, VA, I think it could be a time. That's something you probably want to look at. What is the cost?
Yeah,
versus
you've got to
what
look
the savings is.
You can't just look at the rate and say, "Oh, I need to refinance." Right. You've got to look at what the cost of the refinance is and how long do you expect to stay in that home,
Correct.
And will your savings on the interest rate override the cost based on the term that you're planning to be in the home. So there's a few calculations, but that's the kind of stuff Dustin can help you figure out.
Yeah, but I do think there may be some chances for people right now, especially if you could shave off a whole point. That's kind of generally my rule of thumb. I mean, I wouldn't refinance for a quarter or even a half, but if you could go from a 7 1/4 to a 6 1/4, I think that may make a lot of sense depending on how long you're going to be in the home.
Sure.
So,
sure.
But yeah, I mean, we were kind of right now we're at VA and FHA, so basically all government loans, whether it's VA, FHA, USDA, those are all at about 5.75 right now. Conventional is around 6.25.
That's awesome.
So we've started to see them come back down. Like I said, in the last 90 days, we've seen them as high as over 7% for conventional. I never saw VA get much higher than about 6.75.
Well, you had mentioned Fed's probably going to do another rate hike.